Jeff's Journey, episode 80, whatever, something, way up there. So I wanted to cover two things. I missed in the last one, and then we'll dive into a bunch more stuff. This will be fairly short because I have to go for x-rays right after this for the health stuff, which, I'm doing a health update. Originally, the Jeff Journey episode started because I was having the memory issues, and I want to do health updates for family and then keep trying kind of a track record of what I was going through for me eventually later in life as well. So, which has been very interesting. And I'm going to be shooting probably a political video later today, and I wanted to get this up before then. So, lots of different stuff. So, health thing. It was kind of weird. Just over the last handful of days, I've been feeling like getting a little shake in my head, which is really weird, right? Just like the little, right? That's what my head kind of feels like doing that. Really weird. It's normally an old person thing. I've had all the old people stuff though. I've had the short-term memory loss, the long-term memory loss. I've had heart issues and breathing issues and hard time walking and twitching on one side of my face and twitching and shaking in the hands and just all the stuff you associate with old age. I've done it all. It's really weird. I was just talking with a friend about that yesterday. I've basically experienced old age. It's really kind of odd. And then recovered from it, right? Like we're recovered from old age. Kind of weird. But comes and goes. Constant battle. Something I didn't cover in the last video, which is extremely interesting, is the net Silic Eskimo videos. They were a documentary I watched, which is just amazing. I'm always watching tons of interesting stuff. Watched a super interesting video on Karl Marx the other day. Watching a super interesting thing on Buddha. Watched a super interesting video on Buddhist meditation done inside of prisons. Actually, I watched two videos on that, and one in an Indian prison and one about an American prison, and very interesting. Really get down the recidivism rates and stuff, and decrease the violence inside of the prisons. Pretty amazing results. So those are super interesting. And then the Eskimos, right? They're this way up north, northern tribe, just like the Vikings, right? Kind of that same region, but the Vikings were hyper violent, right? One of the most violent civilizations probably ever. And then the Eskimos are probably the most peaceful civilization ever. They purely meat. They're probably the healthiest human civilization to ever live. It's very interesting. Just very interesting. And the documentary is awesome. It doesn't have any narration. It doesn't explain anything from the 1960s. This video of the net Silic Eskimos it was like when their culture was just starting to fade away too, which is very interesting because, you can't really get it anymore. It doesn't exist. They have convenience stores up above the Arctic Circle now. And it was just the video. You just watch them. You just watch them do their stuff, and you got to kind of figure out what they're doing and whatnot. It's extremely interesting. And then I forgot to mention, I should have got these out. I forgot to mention getting the Peter Paul Rubens brochures from a cathedral in Antwerp. So I saw in a video, one of those interesting videos I watched, this thing on Peter Paul Rubens, this very famous art guy that goes around and he does a bunch of these documentaries, and they're very good, extremely interesting. And I saw him get a brochure inside of that documentary, and I was like, that brochure looks awesome. It was of a triptych, right? And a triptych is this big wooden panel, 1500s, in the Netherlands, Spanish Netherlands, part of the 80 Years' War, right? Really interesting period in history and whatnot. But they would paint on the outside panels these pictures, right? They paint pictures. And then when you open it up, then there's pictures on the two inside panels and on the center panel. So you can tell almost in 5 images an entire story. It's extremely interesting. And he had a brochure that worked just like those triptychs. So I'm getting them out here. And I was like, oh man, I want one of those. So I went online to Amazon and stuff and tried to find them. Couldn't find them. All right? And so, you know how I am. So I tried messaging him. I tried finding the guy that hosted this documentary, which I can't pronounce his name. It's some sort of Polish name, and I can't remember it. But I tried to message him. He's a famous guy, right? So he obviously didn't respond. But I found his company like the company that makes his documentary videos. I messaged them. One of his main guys responded, and he said, I have no idea where he got the brochure, but I'll ask him. So this guy asked the host of these documentaries, this art historian, where he got that brochure, and he said, I got it at the Cathedral in Antwerp, where the picture is. So then I messaged the place in the Cathedral, in Antwerp, the Cathedral, and asked, hey, how can I get one of these brochures? Like, I want to order one online, right? And they don't do that thing. They just sell them to the people that come there. So it was it was like a couple of month process of, I eventually had to send a letter with money in it to the Cathedral in Antwerp, International Mail, and then they mailed me back this stuff, which is awesome. I mean, they sent me a package from a cathedral in Antwerp to get me the brochures I wanted. They were only a couple of dollars. The shipping was just as much, or more. And so here's one. Right? Peter Paul Rubens, awesome artist, pretty crazy, very controversial artist, and also did a bunch of interesting stuff in life. But so you can see, right? There's panel, and then middle panel, and then on the outside there's these two other ones. So these two panels fold over into the middle, and then when you open them up, then you see these other three. Now, I wanted to keep them flat, so I haven't actually folded them the way that they would, normally be folded. I haven't made the creases in them. But you can see it, tells like the story. And there's several of them. Several are very, very famous. So Jesus coming down off the cross, Jesus going up on the cross are very famous from Peter Paul Rubens. And you got you got kind of the mythical cherubs and stuff like this. Some definite strong mythical structures there. And then on the inside, you've got Jesus being put on the cross on that one. And then you've got this one, which is probably the most famous of this type, which is the same type of thing, but it's Jesus coming down. And you've got, I don't know all the details of all these pictures. My favorite from him is Samson and Delilah, but I don't have that one. It's not a triptych, and it's not at this cathedral. We have like a scholar looking here. And then on the other panel on the front, you've got St. Christopher, right, carrying the baby Jesus. And then when you open it up, then you've got this entire Jesus coming down off the cross scene. So just extremely interesting, amazing. And in real life, these triptychs are huge. They're very big, very interesting. And then they just had this too, which isn't a triptych. But I was like, well, yeah, if you got one more thing, send it to me. It's like an extra $1. Something. So, no big deal, or $3 or something like that. So that was really cool, very interesting. And on a somewhat similar note, oh man, I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. I got to leave for my x-rays. On a somewhat similar note, Hillsdale College has excellent free online classes. In my opinion, probably one of the best colleges in the world, right? And they're in Michigan, which is pretty crazy. So I've taken a number of classes from them on reading the book of Genesis, on Churchill, on American heritage, and on Athens and Sparta and the Peloponnesian War. Super good, super good. I plan on taking more. Oh, and Aristotle's Ethics. I just finished that one up yesterday, a couple of days ago. But on their one website, they're major into Churchill because the president, Larry Arnn, is great. He really has focused a lot of his career on studying Churchill, and which is excellent. I'm studying Churchill more and more now myself. And they had these scrolling quotes on one of the Churchill sites. And so I emailed them. I was like, hey, can I get a list of those quotes? And they sent me a list of the quotes that they have scrolling on their site. And it's very interesting, just what stuff you can get if you'll ask. Sometimes, the pictures of the brochures from the Cathedral in Antwerp took months to work out. And the quotes from Churchill on the Hillsdale College website took days to get. So it's all over the place. But, Oh, and then on a somewhat related note, I got a postcard from Helsinki, Finland, from a student I have, a former student in Russia. So this guy, Ilya, super cool guy, and it says here, hi Jeff, I'm in Helsinki again. In a month I'll be speaking in Warsaw. I'll send you something. Oh, yeah. And he's an awesome guy. He's a computer programmer. He obviously travels a lot. Mostly what we worked on was his speaking. So public speaking, because he wants to do public speaking, and he is doing public speaking at various conferences for computer programming. It's really cool. So he's going to be traveling around Europe doing that type of thing. And then, he's kind of getting too busy for having our classes, so he's focusing on that. But he's going to send me some postcards from some of the different places he travels to and speaks and whatnot. And that's the first one, which is awesome. So really cool. And then I got these headphones. All right. So yesterday I took a 2-hour drive to see someone, talk to him for 6 hours about politics, and then drove 2 hours back. And but on the drive I talked to a friend who got me these earphone things that also have the microphone, so you can talk in them, which I've never used that type of thing before. And man, they work really good. so which was nice. And then I didn't have to just kind of waste my time in the car, which isn't really wasted. I just get to think. My radio doesn't work anymore. But it's still kind of nice clearing your head. But it's also nice being able to talk to someone, so that was pretty nice. I've been, of course, reading a bunch of interesting stuff. I'm reading the letters from Abigail to John Adams, which are amazing, and the letters from John Adams and Jefferson Adams, which are amazing. And I've been reading more on Frederick Douglass, who's one of my favorite people in history, super amazing. I've been reading Winston Churchill, which is super amazing. I finished the Volsungs and the sagas of Ragnar Lodbrok, which were excellent, very, very interesting. And I've been reading fairy tales, the original versions, English versions, so the first time they were put in English, so a lot of them are from like the 1700s, stuff like that, from the Opis, who are a couple who are probably the greatest researchers in history on kids' games and toys and stories. Super interesting. And then I've been writing some interesting stuff, of course. I've been focused more on politics. There's going to be a little bit of the year of politics, but there's some other major stuff I want to accomplish, especially in writing. And I started my series, Good, Evil, and Art. And I did it on a sculpture from Bernini at first, and that's the first article. I have at least 3 more planned, one on music, and one on a painting, and one on a story. So it'll be super interesting, but I think it's, well, I just think it's super interesting. It explores morality, what's good, what's evil, why, and can we extract lessons from this art and come up with new theories, basically. And I posit that we can, and I do. So, and then meditation. I've been on and off meditating. I've been stress eating a little bit lately, mostly I think with the political stuff, but a few other things. So I have to get that under control, of course, because my health suffers a little bit when I do that. But I mean, it's mostly my next stuff, which we're doing some experiments with chiropractic and whatnot. We always are, and I always will be, forever. And we've been working on my heart rate, although our success has been. I'm working on that, so I'm still working on that. But the meditation, like the last handful of days, I've been meditating a lot more, and I need it. Right? Those are like my 3 main things: reading, writing, and meditating, and then kind of teaching. So I guess maybe those are my 4 main things. And this month, so every Thursday in March, I'm doing a public speaking class for homeschool kids, and I mean kids in general. We made it as late in the day as we could, 4 to 5 at the Norton Shores Library. So we'll see who shows up. We got posters around and stuff like that. And originally it was going to be for homeschool kids, but I tried to make it as late in the day so any kids could possibly make it if they get out of school. And that'll be interesting. I did it once before at the White Lake Library, and it went well. We didn't have a huge attendance, but it was cool, and it's different. I've coached a lot of adults on public speaking stuff, but not a ton of kids, and they're a little bit different, and it's interesting. Like, I've coached a ton of kids on writing, but not too many adults, so I've mixed on them, and there are definitely some differences. I've given some speeches on the differences. So, yeah, actually, I've given a speech on the difference between coaching writing and between adults and kids, and I've given a speech on coaching speaking between adults and kids and how it's different, and both very interesting. So, yeah, I think that's a good enough thing for now, and I basically got to cut it off here at under 15 minutes because I got to leave for the chiropractor to get x-rays in a few minutes and see how all that stuff is shaping up. And, there'll be another update at some point in the future. But until then, this is Jeff, signing off.